Before the headlines, before the funding, before the spotlight, there were builders. We mastered survival. We mastered hustle. But India's next chapter demands more. When resources were scarce, we built with ingenuity. When systems were missing, we built with trust. It demands systems. It demands standards. It demands scale. Not just businesses that run, but businesses that lead. This is the voice of India's builders. This is Beyond Jugaad.
Hello and welcome back to episode number 4 of Beyond Jugaad. My name is Ajit Panikar and I run an air conditioning and a tech business in the same domain. And in this podcast, we explore the realities of building and scaling businesses. Today's topic is something most every founder has experienced, but very few stop to question. Good people, stuck teams, while capable leaders stop performing. Most entrepreneurs just said this at some point. I know they're capable, so why aren't they delivering? And we often assume it's a people problem. But what if it isn't? What if good people are trapped inside broken systems, unclear roles, founder dependency, or a culture that just doesn't intentionally just doesn't give them the freedom to actually perform? As businesses grow, success depends not just on hiring great people, but on creating an environment where they can make decisions and scale. So why do capable leaders stop performing? And more importantly, what can founders do to unlock their potential? Now, to explore this, I'm back again with two wonderful friends of mine. First, Sarika Sethi, who is a business coach and director at Gemini Power Hydraulics, who brings deep insights into leadership, people development, and organizational culture. Also joining me is Samkit Shah, founder and CEO of Allied Pillars, which works closely with founders to build leadership teams, organizational structures, and businesses that scale beyond founder dependency. Now, if you ever wondered why good people struggle in growing organizations, or whether your systems are limiting your teams to teams of their entire potential, then this conversation is for you. So let's get started. So, Sarika, I'm going to get started with you. So are poor results always caused by poor performance? I mean, how does it go? When a capable leader stops performing, when does that happen? Should we first question the person or the system around him? What are your thoughts on that?
So, Ajit, the question whether it's the person or the system, I think somewhere is a wrong question because both are true. The honest question that we as entrepreneurs should be willing to look at is that we always find it easier to look at the person first because it's emotionally cheaper. And let me explain what I'm saying. The person has a face, the system doesn't. When something goes wrong, the human who didn't deliver is standing in my office and I can just sack him, make a decision, and move on. If the system fails, then it's invisible. Who do I blame? And the deeper question here is, who built the system? I, the founder, is the person who built the system. If the system is broken or wherever the system is today, I am responsible for it. So to talk about the system first is very difficult because then I am questioning myself. So the point about we hired wrong versus I did not build an environment which is capable of onboarding such a leader, that is where the decision lies.
Very interesting. So it's like the system doesn't have a face, but the person has a face. So when things start going wrong, Samkit, what's your take on this? You should go after the system or the person?
Very well said, Sarika, because even I've believed that every performance gap actually has a story. And most leaders get that story wrong. It's the most easiest part is just to blame the person. But actually, the real work is how do we go deeper? And I'll supplement this with an example, and it was the biggest learning for me. When I was in my family business, we've always been into exports. We never had an Indian market for selling. We were 100% exports. So after a few years, we decided that let's have some local presence as well, and we hired one sales guy. 3 months into it, 4 months into it, that guy just could not get the sales which we wanted. So the natural response was, okay, I'm sorry, you're fired. I mean, you're not able to perform. I was shocked to understand that after 2 months, when I met that same guy in a different event, he was one of the top performers of a company which he joined later, which was a much bigger company, well-established company, and having a very, very big local presence. And I think that time it struck me that the person was not wrong. Probably the context of his capability and our requirement was not matching. So as founders, do we really ask questions whether he's a right fit for the role? Is he the guy who is fantastic to start a virgin market, or is he a guy who can really scale up what is already existing? And I think all of these questions, like Sarika mentioned, can only come when we dive deeper. And that's where the real work needs to happen. Blaming is the most easiest part, but it still gives you a solution.
Samkit, if I may even interject here, Ajit, with your permission, is that, sometimes we have a dream of a position
Yes.
which has got so many elements in it that this is almost a difficult position to be fulfilled by one person. So yes, aspirations versus execution, sometimes they can be a gap.
Yeah. We all want a sarvagun sampan
Yes.
employee, right? But वो नहीं मिलता है.
Ajit, we can't hear you.
Ajit, I think you're on mute.
Sorry, I was just giving you guys all the noise. That's all that space. Sorry for that.
I was for once happy that Ajit didn't talk.
Awesome.
Sorry.
Yeah, but Samkit, what you just said, why do people actually get stuck here? I mean, what are the common reasons that capable leaders become ineffective?
Yeah.
That happened.
Yeah, definitely, Ajit. I think we see so many instances, and I think I work with multiple companies, multiple leaders in those companies. I think the biggest reason, if I have to attribute, there are multiple reasons why they get stuck, but the biggest reason is they stop believing that they can influence the outcome. Initially, when they have joined, they are so enthusiastic, so proactive, full of ideas. But what happens is that those ideas don't see the light of the day. The owners shut down the idea, they don't take decisions, or probably the decisions are getting delayed. After a point, the guy just loses the energy. What he was here for and what he actually does is two very, very different things. I was talking to one of the leaders about how things are going after about 5 6 months. Like, Samkit, I don't know what I'm doing here. I said, why are you asking me this? It's like my to-do list is full of things which I need to fix as a task, which Mr. Owner came yesterday to the factory and told me to fix those things. And that's how I'm operating. I don't have any bandwidth to think of strategic initiatives or something which I have to take to the company to a different level. And I think that's where they become the manager of the problems rather than owners of the outcome. If you manage him this way, I think that's where they get stuck, Ajit.
Very interesting. Sarika, why do you think that people just get stuck in these things?
Ajit, in my experience, and my working with some other MSMEs also, what I've noticed is there are usually 2 or 3 reasons why people get stuck. One is that when we hire people at a senior level, they don't know what success actually looks like in their role. So I'm not talking about their JDs, their goals, their KPIs. I mean, that the HR drafts usually very well and will present it to them. But it's more about, what is the founder thinking? What would be success as per the founder? Now, I am sometimes guilty of doing the same thing because I just assume, well, XYZ is working with me, so by virtue of proximity, they will learn. But I need to understand that proximity is not transmission. I mean, there is no brain-to-brain transmission that happens here, or neither he or she can read my mind. So articulating it very clearly as an entrepreneur, that what would you consider as success 2 years down for the leadership role is very, very important.
So what are you trying to... Sorry. Please go ahead.
So the second thing is, sometimes they don't have the permission to do what is necessary for that success. So I give them the title, I give them responsibility, I give them the target, but a lot of the important decision making of hiring, firing, spend, I keep with me.
Yeah, very often.
So they know what the problem is, but they cannot do anything to execute and correct it because they don't have the authority. And I think as entrepreneurs, like I mentioned to Samkit earlier, we sometimes give very confusing signals. So we will say that, come on, move fast on this customer mandate. And then in the same breath, we will say, but mere se check kar lena.
Correct.
How does that work? Two opposing statements which cannot work together. So eventually, the leader learns to just let go. We may consider this as an attitude problem, but actually it is a problem of lack of clarity, a lack of understanding, a lack of authority, which plays.
So what you're saying is, this is a clear case of responsibility without any authority. It's like a trap, So can leaders truly be accountable if they don't have the authority to act? So you have these key people in your organization and you say, "Tu mere se check kar lena," ya fir, or that check kar lena can be done, "Tu sirf mere ko bata dena, but tu decide kar le." How does that work? I mean, can they actually perform if you don't give them the authority?
So I will ask our viewers to do a test, okay? Just write down 5 to 6 most important leaders, that 5 to 6 important decisions that this leader requires to make. And then honestly ask, which of those decisions is he allowed to make without coming to me? Yeah. If the answer is less than 3, then you don't have a leader. You just have a senior messenger with a designation.
Absolutely.
We give the leaders targets, titles, even PLL authority. But beneath that, the team starts noticing what is happening. The team starts seeing that within a few months, you are actually overriding what the leader is saying. And the leader almost becomes a middle layer which can be bypassed. And we attribute it to, weak leadership. But actually,
and that's unfair.
We are teaching the system to skip him.
Yeah.
And another thing which, comes to my mind, and I don't know whether the entrepreneurs will agree with this, is that we have given somebody a position and a responsibility, but we don't actually trust him fully. मतलब हाँ ठीक है तुम CEO हो, CFO हो या CEO हो, लेकिन it's still my बच्चा, so I don't know whether I can give you that decision to make fully. So we think by giving a title, we've substituted, it with actually giving you trust. But that's
and we
not
professionalized. But correct. That's not this.
Because the trust gets built only when you allow them to make decisions and fail at decisions and be okay with it.
Samkit, do you come across such similar things in your practice?
Oh yeah, Jeet, I can supplement multiple examples. Exactly what Sarika has mentioned. One striking example which comes in my mind is I was talking to this national sales head. Okay, he says, Samkit, every negotiation I go for the closing a deal, I have to literally get out of the room in front of the client 3 to 4 times. I said, why? Because I have to update the owner every new price which is being discussed, and I don't have the permission to close it. Now, the easiest solution could be that why can't we have a price list? But this is where I think where Sarika mentioned that we've given him the responsibility to close the sale, but we've not given him the authority to close on the price. Nahi, price aap mujhe puch ke bolo. And that poor chap is going out in front of the client to get the final quote. Now, what happens to his credibility? Now, as a customer, I know that, okay, this guy does not have any power. The real power lies behind whom he's calling. So that means अगर मैं पूछूंगा तो मुझे और discount मिल सकता है. And the same guy, gave me an example that I'm responsible also for collections and on-time payment. There was a customer where the payment was very late, and I took that decision as the responsible sales manager that we will not invoice any new orders. The customer directly calls the owner, and the owner opens up the lock, and the new order keeps flowing in. Now, if I'm made responsible, Samkit, for the collections and for the debtor payments on time, but if the owner is openly, changing those decisions and my system, how do I become responsible for it? If we have not given the authority to our leaders, how do they stand responsible for it? And I think that's a big problem, which we need to address.
Very interesting. So this is that Jugaad mindset that we talk about, no? That this constant, that constant firefighting that discourages people from taking ownership. And in a way, this itself kills the ownership within the entire team. Among the leaders whom you have appointed, this just kills the ownership. And that's exactly what's happening, right? I mean, isn't this the Jugaad mindset? Samkit?
Certainly. It is a Jugaad mindset because I think the owners are continuing to operate the way they were operating probably in the yesteryears. I'll give you an example. A company which has grown so well over the years, the promoter is sitting in front of the client. The client requires an urgent delivery. नहीं साहब आपको कुछ भी करके करना पड़ेगा. Without consultation with the plant head, without consultation with the purchase head, the owner commits a date. Like ठीक है, ये time पे हो जाएगा. And he comes back and everybody's saying, sir, ये impossible है. Like, तुम लोग बैठो. He himself calls the vendor. He himself stands on the line and ensures with an overtime that is delivered. And he feels like a hero because customer is super happy. Now, he became the hero. Customer is very happy. All the optics right. What happened actually behind? The system was out for a toss. The process which was laid down, the priorities which were laid down completely changed. And most importantly, what happens to that plant head? He was just a spectator watching the entire thing, saying, "मैं पूरा process system सब डाल रहा हूँ," and the owner just comes. Now, this is a Jugaad mindset. Because the owner approached this issue saying that मुझे ये customer को problem का solve करना है. Not that, I need to get this out in a way where we have designed the organization now. Now we are no longer a 20-30 member company, but we are a 2,000 member company, and I cannot just override this. Till that thinking does not change, I think the owners continue to operate in the Jugaad style. It's going to be detrimental if you really have to scale from this level.
That's great. Sarika, isn't this one of the reasons why some of your best performers leave? Even though they are key people in your organizations, you've given them responsibility, you've given them designation, but they choose to leave. Isn't that one of the reasons?
Ajay, reasons for leaving, unfortunately, are because we give our leaders a lot of responsibility, but not real authority. Like Samkit mentioned, that a sales head is given a deliverable of increasing the revenue, But every time he has to give a discount of, say, 10% and more, he has to come back to you. And you do not revert back to him for 3 days, 4 days because you're busy. And then the deal slips. And when you have that feedback conversation, you are asking him, "Are ye deal kyun chali gayi?" Now he cannot turn around and tell you, "Sir, because aapne jawab nahi diya."
Correct.
So he absorbs it. If this keeps happening, then he stops trying. Because why would he want to push deals where you have to continuously approve? Yeah. So the pipeline shrinks, and we say, "Arey yaar, this guy doesn't have the hunger, the ambition in him." But the fact is, the leader is learning how the actual ground is operating.
Exactly.
Also, what happens, and we spoke about this in some of our earlier episodes, was that if the leader sees that the legacy employees or the loyal employees have your ear and they are able to get promotions or work out of you faster, then they learn that yahan pe to bhaiya politics se kaam kar lo, merit se kaam nahi hoga.
Correct.
So again, it comes down to the systems, the SOPs, the clarity which we as the entrepreneurs have set out. I remember I had a leader in my organization she was a brilliant leader, and I thought she could really come up, but she left. And I met her after 2 years and I asked her, "Bhai, kya hua? You were doing so well. Why did you leave?" So what she told me actually surprised me. And she said that, "Sarika, on such and such a day, do you remember that in that month, my manager overrided my decision 3 times. You did not intervene." And I was like, "Oh my God, yes, I did." So these are various reasons which we don't realize, but the high performance just start getting disengaged. They don't bang the door and leave you. They just quietly start disengaging and then make their exit. And they have switched off at least 6 months before that.
Yeah. And culture is what we tolerate, right?
Yeah. And this is the culture of dependency, right? That's what we create, right, Samkit? This whole culture of dependency. And very few of us actually understand that, that whole culture is we accidentally are training people not to think. Isn't that what's happened with some of the companies that you work with?
So many. And I think the culture of dependency, the biggest culprit is, have we allowed them to make mistakes? And how have we reacted or responded when a mistake was made? And I think, this was the biggest lesson I learned from my dad. Very early on in my career, when I was, a part of the organization, one of a very young purchaser, Ajit made a loss of almost $500,000 on one transaction he purchased incorrectly. Now, my dad had 3 options: either to fire him, or second, अभी से तुम जो लोगे मुझे पूछे बिना आपको नहीं लेना है. That's dependency. My dad chose the third option, saying, "Now you are only going to come and compensate this by the way of your performance." You'll be surprised that same boy in 3 years was purchasing north of $10 million himself alone. And till date, he always meets my dad and touches his feet because he let him make that mistake and he did not reprimand him, nor did he really get him into a dependency, or else his career would have been shattered. So the dependency is created when the owner says, तुमने mistake किया है, अभी अगले बार आपको मुझे पूछे बिना कुछ नहीं करना है. And that's when we kill the entire courage, those guys actually display. Mistakes happen. Yes, we need to have stronger guardrails. We need to have stronger systems, which does not hamper or hurt the company to a large extent. But are we allowing our people to make those mistakes and show that courage? If not, they are going to be dependent. Why should I use my brain? मैं सर को पूछ लेता हूँ एक बार. सर हाँ बोलेंगे तो मैं करूँगा. सर ना बोलेंगे तो नहीं करूँगा. डिसीजन मेरा नहीं है. अभी डिसीजन सर का है.
So I have to talk about this, Ajit, please. See, I want to describe the day that I think most founders experience. 9 o'clock in the morning, the operation head walks in. Sir, Pune ki shipment stuck hai, driver issue hai. Then you ask him 2 questions, give him instructions. 4 minutes mein he's out. You feel very productive. 9:30 ko sales engineer enters. Sir, Indore ka customer is asking for extension of credit. You think and say, ठीक है, ये है तो 30 days दे दो, ये नहीं है तो ये मत करो. Say 10-11 baje HR person comes and says, sir, what about Rahul's offer? Should we counter it? You think for 2 minutes and you say, हाँ, ऐसे करो. Now by 12:30, you may have solved 9 problems and you feel, wow, the business needed me and you showed up for the business.
Accomplished.
But you have actually not done a single thing to build the company. Yeah. What you have done is only ticked the queue which is standing outside your door.
Yeah.
Now, here's what is happening. Each of those people who walked in actually knew the answer. The operations head knew I could do this. The HR head knew that I had these options. But they feel that it is safer if you give an answer because they have not held responsible. Because somewhere in the system, they must have noticed when somebody made a decision and it went wrong, what were the repercussions and, how we behave. So it is like, hey, we'll go to boss with a yes or no question, take it, come and do our work, and then it is done. And we as entrepreneurs say, oh, wow, my business really needs me. I am adding so much value to my business.
Yeah.
But I just want us to...
Yeah, and Sarika and Samkit, this is exactly where that whole Jugaad mindset creates this entire leadership pipeline problem. So it all comes down to only one thing, how do you actually unlock this whole leadership crisis? How do you unlock these people who are stuck because of this? What are the few things that, according to you, what are the conditions that you need to create to allow capable people to perform at their best? So just a few tips on actually, from what we've spoken, just those lines as to do these 3 things, that's important. Samkit, over to you first, then to Sarika.
I think a few things which the owners need to get in. Move from giving instructions to coaching them. It's okay that you can give a solution in 2 minutes, but take that 30 minutes, coach them and get them to find that solution themselves. Move from telling, ask them questions. I think you are building their thought process when you ask them these questions. Second is, please align with them on the what. What is it that we need to achieve? The milestone, the goalpost. Leave the how to get it done on them. But the problem is if we start controlling the how, that's when they kind of withdraw. But our job is align on what is it that we need to achieve, how to get it done, leave it on him. That is why you have recruited him. That is why you've invested in him. So I think these few things, if you are able to change, you will see the leader stepping up to your surprise.
Amazing. Sarika, what are your takes on this? How do I make sure that I don't land up in this trouble?
Yeah, exactly what Samkit said, that be clear on what are your expectations, be clear on the outcomes, but most importantly, be ready to change your own behavior. As leaders, it has to start from us. We have to be open to clarifying all the contradictions. We have to be open at, discussing the outcomes, the failures, the vision, or whatever it is that we expect from the leaders. So yes, don't control the house, just concentrate on the what.
Yes.
That's amazing. Guys, this is just about the time that we had for today's episode, but here's my takeaway from this, is that most founders actually spend years trying to find better people. And I think we never stop doing that. And few spend even time creating better environments, lovely office, a great, so-called system that they work around. Because great teams are not built by hiring extraordinary people alone. They're built by creating clarity, trust, accountability, and systems that allow ordinary people to do extraordinary work. And perhaps the most important leadership question is this: If good people are stuck in your organization, what needs to change? The people or the way the organizations work? Thank you very much, guys. Thanks for being with us today and being part of our podcast. We'll see you next month with another interesting topic on Beyond Jugaad. Thank you, Samkit. Thank you, Sarika.
Thank you, Ajit. Thank you, Sarika.
Before the headlines, before the funding, before the spotlight, there were builders. We mastered survival. We mastered hustle. But India's next chapter demands more. When resources were scarce, we built with ingenuity. When systems were missing, we built with trust. It demands systems. It demands standards. It demands scale. Not just businesses that run, but businesses that lead. This is the voice of India's builders. This is Beyond Jugaad.